Denver cuts services in response to the migrant crisis that's costing the city $180 million. Denver Mayor Mike Johnson announced the cuts to the DMV and Parks and Recreation in response to the migrant crisis. Quote, Denver will cut hours at recreation centers and in-person vehicle registration renewals and eliminate spring flower beds to save $5 billion this year. A response to the migrant crisis that's expected to cost the city $180 million. Mayor Mike Johnson on Friday blasted Congress for failing this week to pass a $118.3 billion bill aimed at stopping the flow of illegal entry at the southern border and making it easier for migrants who enter legally to get work permits. About 40,000 migrants, mostly from Venezuela, had arrived in Denver over the past year, and more than 3,500 are living in city-funded hotel rooms. Thousands took bus rides to other American cities after arriving in Denver, and an unknown number are trying to stay in the city, find jobs, and send their kids to school. Quote, I want to be clear to Denverites who is not responsible for this crisis that we're in, the folks who have walked 3,000 miles to get to this city. My first guest represents Wyoming's at-large district, Representative Harriet Hageman. All right, so Denver is a big city to your south. How could the mayor, who declared the city a sanctuary city and welcomed this, blame the federal government, who's not, well, I guess you could blame the federal government for not securing the border, but blame Republicans?
It is such a stunning statement and a stunning development that we're watching happening in Denver right now. The fact that he is blatantly admitting that they are willing to cut services to citizens so that they can continue to provide resources and money to illegal aliens is absolutely stunning to me. Andrew, I was at the border down in the Tucson sector. And what I learned from the mayors in those communities, the sheriffs, the farmers, the ranchers, the Border Patrol, it's absolutely stunning. I used to say it was a crisis down there. It's not a crisis. It is a catastrophe. And I think that it was William F. Buckley who said, you can either have an open border or you can have a welfare state, but you can't have both. What Mayor Johnson is showing is you can either have an open border or you can actually provide services to the citizens of this country, but you can't do both. I find it reprehensible that he's willing to basically take resources away from the people who are paying the taxes so that it can be given to people who are going to be engaged in drug trafficking, in human trafficking, all of the different things that we're seeing in terms of the crime problems. It's just absolutely stunning.
Isn't it also a little disingenuous? He's saying, we, the city, have run out of money to provide you with services, so we demand the federal government pass a package and send that money here, as if you don't pay for the federal government. When your mayor says, we need the federal government to give us money, you're not getting something for free. You paid those taxes too.
That's
State,
right.
Local, federal. So I don't know who he thinks he's deceiving here when he says to the city, well, it's not my fault. The federal government's got to give me more money so I can provide you the services that you paid for locally.
Well, it is such an absurd approach to attack the Republicans for not going forward and passing the monstrosity that the Senate attempted to ram down our throats last week. Andrew, I've looked at various provisions of that bill. That bill did not stem the tide. It would allow between 5,000 and 8,500 people to cross that border every single day without any additional restrictions being imposed. And then on top of that, should President Biden decide that 8,500 wasn't enough or that there was some kind of a national emergency, he could throw the doors open so that it would be absolutely unlimited. That is not a border security bill. The House of Representatives passed a border security bill. This was an amnesty bill. This was a laundering money bill. This was a way to try to get one of the poison pills that is in this bill that a lot of people don't realize is it gave exclusive jurisdiction of all cases related to this bill to this DC District Court and the DC Circuit Court of Appeals. What that means is that the two most liberal courts in the nation would be the only courts that would ever be able to decide any of the lawsuits or cases brought related to this bill. So Texas would have been disenfranchised. Wyoming would be disenfranchised. Any of your conservative courts would be completely disenfranchised, which also means that you would never have a split in the circuits and you would never have Supreme Court review. This particular bill was so full of poison pills and so disastrous, it seemed shocking to me that there were even Republicans who were considering pushing this forward to the House.
Yeah, in the Senate, no less. In the Senate. When we have a president who actually thinks that he's solving inflation while the government is set to spend $500 billion on this open border, like you said, catastrophe. I don't know when prices are going to come down if we're spending money we don't have, and the government is having to divert services like the VA away from veterans. We're diverting our tax dollars away from Americans to support this open border, and it's not going to get any better. It's just not, as long as this president is in the White House. I got 20 seconds.
Andrew, I'm going to tell you one place that Biden has actually brought the price down, and that's in fentanyl. What we were told by the Sheriff and Border Patrol is that fentanyl is at the lowest price ever because it is flooding our southern border. So if there's anything that Joe Biden has done, he has brought down the price of fentanyl, and all of our communities are suffering the consequences.
That's scary. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get you back soon.
Thanks, Andrew.